Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio for another week of football action on Fridays at 5 p.m. with your host, as always, George. I hope you're having a beautiful week. I hope you're enjoying the lovely weather, the sunny weather we've got, and also the beautiful football as well. The beautiful game that is slowly, unfortunately, coming to an end. The penultimate weeks of the league season have just passed us, and it's sad because it's going to be the final week next week for league football actions, and it's so sad. I want to cry, but unfortunately we can't. We need to do the show this week, and I want to introduce my co-host as always, and our resident Ipswich Town fan. It is Dan. Dan, how are you doing, mate? It's a beautiful time. The weather's coming, football's in the nice weather, but penultimate weeks of the league season, don't remind me.
Yeah, I know. And then we'll be going to international stuff, won't we?
Yeah.
Nations League, isn't it? But yeah, it's good to be back again this week. There's some decent football being played at the moment. Is there some interesting games? It'll be nice to talk about it.
Yes, it will be nice to talk about it as well. But before we even talk about what's coming in today's show, I better mention the social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram is at Talk_Pitch, YouTube it's got both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, do not worry, they're all up there on YouTube and Mixcloud as well, and also iRadio as well, because we're live on iRadio right now as we are recording this. So what is coming in today's show? Well, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town. We have some more Ipswich Town news, some quite interesting news actually this week. We thought this would be a bit of a dull week, but oh boy, won't we, Rob? And also we'll be talking about the FA Cup final that happened on Saturday last week, and the Premier League game week number 37 as well, the penultimate game week for the season. And oh boy, it's getting very tight at the top and the bottom and in the middle and everywhere else. But when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town and all the news that's been around Portland Road this week. So don't go anywhere.
News.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio, Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action with your host as always, George, and joined by my co-host as well, Dan, for another week of football action here on Pitchside Talk. And now before we move on talking about Ipswich Town this week, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram is at Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any previous shows, do not worry, they're all up there on YouTube and Mixcloud for you to listen back to whenever you like. You can listen to it now, in an hour's time, tomorrow, 7 days, a month. I ain't too fussed. But we're to be talking about Ipswich Town now, and well, we thought it'd be quite a bit of a dull week after the thrilling week we had last week, where players were released left, right, and centre. But this week, it was a different week. Ipswich Town made sure they got their key players onto new contracts, locking them down to the club for a little bit longer. And up first was Burns, baby Burns. His first season at the club, his debut season, has been rewarded with a brand new and improved contract, extending his stay now until the summer of 2025, taking him up to the same time now as George Edmondson. He did originally sign a 3-year contract, which took him to 2024, but now has added an extra year on that. He ended his first season with 13 goals, the club's top goal scorer. I think 12 in the league, Dan, 1 in all competitions, if I'm correct, quickly.
Yes, yeah, you are correct. Because I think he scored 1 in the FA Cup, if I remember correctly.
Oh, God, I hope that wasn't against Barrow.
No, we didn't score against Barrow, so it definitely wasn't against Barrow.
Oh, no, we did know. It was Oldham. Oldham we scored against.
Oh, Oldham, yeah, that was it.
Forgot about that Oldham game.
Yeah.
Before we get distracted, also he swept the board with all the end of the season awards at Ipswich Town, and also was named in that League One Team of the Season squad as well. He has said he's delighted to commit his future to the club. I believe the club is going only one way, and I want to be a part of that. Once the season had finished, it was very much about getting a new contract sorted, which I'm very now pleased to get done. A lot of people have played a part in my development this season. I love my football here, and I love being in a part of the dressing room, and I'm really excited about next season because I want to achieve things with this club. Dan Burns, baby Burns, he is staying, the fans' favourite. We all love him. he is staying for another year. And it's crucial that Town have got him in on this new contract because he might be staying until 2024, but we all know that doesn't mean anything at all in football. Contracts, numbers, how long you're going to be staying at clubs. What if a club wants you, they're going to come and get you. But Town have got him onto this new long-term contract, something McKenna is very thrilled about. He wanted him to stay at the club as well. But he had an impressive first season. What can he do in the next, can we say?
Oh, I hope it's going to be a fantastic season next year. But yeah, it was absolutely crucial to get this tied down. I mean, he's a player that makes such a massive difference when he's on the pitch. I mean, he didn't miss many games this year, but when he did, you notice the difference. He's such an influential player. He's scored, as we said, 13 goals in all competitions this season, most of any player. He's won every single award that can have been, it seemed. I mean, he got in Team of the Year as well, which I was, or Team of the Season, which I was very surprised about. I wasn't expecting an Ipswich player to be in it, but you know, he absolutely deserved that. He's been absolutely immense this year, and players in this league can't deal with him down that right hand side. So it was massive that we got him on a new deal, because as you say, anything can happen in football, and if you know, teams are probably looking at him right now. So yeah, it's great to hear that he'll have a long term future here at Ipswich, because we really need him. Hopefully, yeah, next year he'll be at his best again, and he'll score more goals. That'd be lovely. But no, it's crazy because I mean, well, he doesn't really play right wing back. That's kind of what we put our formation out as, isn't it? But he doesn't really play right wing back. But to get 13 goals from the right wing it's just fantastic. And he's been one of two players this year that have been one of my favourites. It was kind of between him and Donatian whether you know, who was going to be my player of the season, and I picked Burns in the end because of how important he is to this team. So, you know, massive news.
Yes, it is massive news. And something that you highlight about when he hasn't been playing, you can notice it a lot. And that shows how crucial he is to the squad, because without him, not to be rude, Town wouldn't be in the position they are at the moment without him, would they?
No, they wouldn't. And that's the thing. If Burns isn't playing, who's going to play in that position? Aluko could maybe do it. Chaplin could maybe do it, but they haven't got the pace that Burns have. They're good players in their own right, of course. But, you know, no one could do the same job that he does. So, yeah, he's absolutely crucial. And you really, really notice a difference when he's on the pitch. And I feel like League One defences are scared of him just because he can run at players and take players on, and he scores as well. So yeah, he's just a fantastic winger, and I'm so pleased we signed him. I think that goal he scored against us on that last day of the season kind of Mark Ashton saw that. Oh, actually, I think Mark Ashton's worked with Wes Burns before, hasn't he? I think Burns said that in his interview. He's known Mark Ashton for a while, so he knew all about him. I'm so glad we signed him, because he's a fantastic player.
He is a fantastic player, and that's news to me. I didn't realise that those two have previously worked together. So
yeah, I think at Bristol City, I think he was in the Bristol City academy. I might be wrong here. Don't take my word for it, but I think that's where it's from.
Maybe it is from that. I'm not too sure, but I'll tell you something. I take that as gospel. I will take that as gospel. Whatever Dan says, it is right.
Oh, thank you.
That's all right. Don't worry about it, mate. Well, we had Burns sign a new deal, and one day later, we had another player sign a new deal. Somebody who was out of contract this summer has now extended their stay at Ipswich Town for another 2 years to the summer of 2024, and that is Kaden Jackson. Yes, the striker is now staying at Ipswich Town after getting making 12 appearances, 3 goals and 3 assists this season. Adding he is really pleased to get this deal done, despite having that season-ending hamstring injury he suffered against Portsmouth in that 0-0 draw back in the middle of March. But the striker is very happy to get it done. But because of injuries, negotiations have gone on for a little bit longer than he was expecting. But he is delighted now, get it all sorted. He's had positive discussions with the manager and the team as well. And he has a really good feeling and is very happy to be at Portman Road and believes he can play his best football and hopefully achieve something really good with the club. With McKenna adding as well, Kaden's attitude and personality has really impressed me since I have arrived, and we are really delighted he is staying with us. He's an incredibly hard worker in training, and before his injury, that hard work was showing in his performances, and his rehab is going well. We look forward to seeing him back in action at the coming end of the season. Dan, we talked about Jackson last time because there was talks about this deal, nothing concrete last week. But now we have something concrete here, a 2-year extension for Kaden Jackson, stay at Portman Road for a little bit longer after he joined us back in 2018 from Accrington Stanley. But you're happy to see him here. It's a really interesting signing, really, because prior to McKenna coming, we could just say Kaden Jackson was out the door. We basically had both his feet out the door, really, and he was still at the club. But since McKenna's come in, he seems to be the perfect striker for McKenna's style system out of all the 4 strikers we had this season, out of Norwood, Piggott and Bond. He seemed to be the perfect one. He might not be scoring the goals, but as McKenna's added, his hard work in that system, just laying things off, causing problems with defenders, running at them, has really been influential in his style of play and in Town season when he has played.
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a big turnaround for him, really, with the start of the season. And Paul Cook, he obviously didn't like him, which was unfortunate for him, but he's clawed his way back. And as you say, he made such a difference when he came back into the side. I mean, I think this is a really important contract as well, because he fits so well in McKenna's system. I think a player like him is needed in the way that we want to play, because we want to play, pacey football. So with him on the pitch, we can definitely do that. And as you say, last week we talked about this, and I said that I wanted him to stay, and I'm really happy that he's going to stay. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really like him as a player, and he can be really influential in this league, and really dangerous on the attack. I'm sure we'll sign another striker, but he's definitely a fantastic option to have in this side. And he's played a few times on the right hand side. I haven't really liked him on the right hand side, but I guess he could do that as well. So there's a bit of versatility there, where he can play in different positions. So yeah, really, really pleased with that one as well. And he deserves it, because as you say, his work ethic has been fantastic in the time that he was out and training in the under 23s and everything. To come back in with a great attitude is fantastic. So yeah, really, really pleased. Yeah,
fantastic attitude. And I was about to actually mention about that, because Town are linked with a few strikers, and there's a lot of talk about having this 20 goal per season striker. Is this a sort of a tactic here by McKenna? He might not be the starter next season, but if this new striker who comes in doesn't work out, he's got somebody there he can rely on and knows will do the job. Might not score the goals every single game or whatever, but he knows he can rely on Kaden Jackson to do him a job week in, week out.
Yeah, definitely. I think Jackson can be that type of player, and we've seen it a lot. Him not really being the starting striker, but making a difference when he's come on off the bench. And I'm sure we'll look for another striker. I mean, that's what we need to do. We've got 2 strikers at the club right now, or first team strikers at least, and we need some more. So is he going to be starting every game? It'll be tough for him to be the out and out striker if we sign that 20 goal a season striker. But as you say, he's a fantastic option to have. If we don't get that, or something happens to that striker, if he's out injured or suspended, I think he's a fantastic option in replacement to that, just because he fits McKenna's style fantastically. So yeah, I think massive contract signing again, and a player that will hopefully succeed next year.
Yes, hopefully will succeed as well next year as well. And while we had a few days off from Town signing players on new contracts until Aluko, somebody who we reported on a couple of weeks ago, had his option triggered in his contract to stay for another season, has now put pen to paper and is now extending his stay in Suffolk for another season following that option, which was exercised in his contract. The 33-year-old who arrived in Suffolk last summer on that signing that 1-year deal will be signing another season now until the end of next season, which will be 2022 to 2023 campaign. In the time he's made 22 appearances for Town over the campaign and 14 from the bench. Dan, a very, very interesting player here, Luco. A lot of fans have warmed to him. I think when he started that first few games, he looked very much out of sorts, very much unfit when he played those first few games. But since he's had those few games out of the way, he has been brilliant for Town. A very classy player and has a lot of experience as well. We did talk about this a few weeks ago. He has that experience of getting promotions. We've seen it. He's got promotions with various other clubs from either from League One to Championship or Championship to Premier League. He's been there and he has done that. But this is crucial that Town have got him on another year as well, because he's somebody who's got that versatility and that experience, which can be needed in a side that's trying to challenge or even make that next step to try and get into those next leagues, e.g. the Championship.
Yeah, I mean, you always need that experience, and I'm really pleased that he's signed a contract as well, because, as you say, he's been my surprise of the year, really. When we signed him, I wasn't expecting what we got. I mean, his first touch is impeccable. I've rarely seen players with a first touch like his at this club. McGoldrick was one example of that, but I think his first touch is so amazing, and he can turn on a dime and pass players with ease. And as you say, he's versatile. He can play in all them front positions. I could see him playing on the left in the number 10 or on the right hand side. So he's got that, and that experience as well is going to be crucial in League One, as I said a couple of weeks ago. I mean, you just can't go without that, really. So yeah, another really big signing, and another player who really, really deserves it as well. Just because of what a really good season he's had, one that I didn't expect. So credit to him.
Yes, credit to him as well. He also added in his statement, I'm really excited about the up and coming campaign at Portman Road. Even though we didn't achieve what we wanted last season, I'm fully confident in the squad and the coach staff and the club as a whole, and we will give it all 100% once again. And he feels very privileged to wear that Town shirt as well. Well, we thought all the signings were done, all the contracts were done, everything was done. We thought, okay, let's go on the rest. Let's go on our hollybobs now. Let's do the players. Let's go on our little hollybobs. What they're like when the season ends. They go on their hollybobs, and we don't see them until June or July. I can never remember. It always varies, doesn't it? It's June or July time. So that's not something like that. But,
pre-season can't come quick enough.
I've never heard that before. That's something new from Dan. Pre-season can't come quick enough. That's how much he's missing out on football this current amount of time being at Portman Road. I agree with you as well. Let it come as well. But there was more contract news and more contract news. Oh gosh. We thought it was all over, but another player has extended their deal to spend 3 more years at Portman Road, and that is Luke Wolford. He has extended his Town deal in boosting the club at the same time as well, becoming the latest player to extend his contract with Ipswich Town. He is now staying now to the end of summer 2025, the same as George Emerson and Wes Burns, but he already signed a contract to 2024 back in 2020, Dan, if I'm correct. Was it 2020? Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, it was 2020, yeah. 2020
to 2024, but he's now extended that by adding an extra year to that contract, but pen to paper to summer 2025. The academy produce as well. Dan, the 23-year-old, we thought he was all heading out the door, to be honest. I think there was a lot of talks that he was going. He wasn't very happy under basically Paul Lambert. It was very much he wasn't happy at all. And then he played under Paul Cook for a little bit, and then things started to turn sour. There was a mistake in him. We saw at the start of the season there were mistakes everywhere from the centre backs, and unfortunately, he was one of them that was prone to it. But since Kieran McKenna has come in, he's been an absolutely changed man. He's a different beast. He's now the central figure in this side, especially in defence. He's now playing the best football of his career, adding he really enjoys his football in the second half of the last season. I'm really delighted to have signed a new contract at the club. Working with the boss has been great. I'm also enjoying my new role in the team. I believe the club is only going to go one direction. I want to be a part of that, immediately aiming to be promoted next season. With McKenna also adding as well, Luke has applied himself very well last season, has put some in strong performances in for us, and his contribution defensively also has played a part in starting attacks and driving us forward. Therefore, I've really enjoyed working with him so far, and I look forward to continuing focusing and growing the player at the club. Dan here staying. He has been, I think, also as well, a little bit of a surprise package, I think, this season. I know you talk about Denoy, Danasi, and Luca being surprise packages, but he has as well, because we've not seen this run. We've seen flashes in the pan. We've had one game where he's looked brilliant. The next game he looks, unfortunately, awful, and he's not playing, and he's arguing about managers, and he's falling out with managers. But under McKenna, he is a different beast, and he is so crucial to this club because, like we said with Burns, clubs will sniff around. And the same for Wolford, you've got to get him on these contracts so clubs don't come and sniff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, another one. It's so well. First of all, actually, it's so refreshing to see the club doing deals early instead of the last minute, which is what we kind of did under the previous owner. But yeah, with Wolfenden signing a new deal, it's a really, really crucial one again. I think Wolfenden, he's a confidence player, really. I think when he's happy with the manager and he's on form, he can be absolutely fantastic, and he's really shown that this second half of the season. I think people underestimate, especially Paul Lambert and Paul Cook, what difference he makes to the side. I mean, he's a fantastic ball playing centre back, and I mean, we've seen him get forward a lot this year as well, actually. I mean, he looked like Messi against Rotherham, if you remember that. The run he went on from centre back. But yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely delighted that he's gonna be with us again. I think he's probably one of the most underrated centre backs in this league. So, you know, as you say, clubs will sniff around. And he's been linked away before. It hasn't happened. But if he puts in fantastic performances like he did in this second half of the season, clubs are gonna be knocking on the door. So to get him on a contract is really, really crucial as well. So he's obviously here to stay and going to be a part of the furniture next year, which I'm delighted about, because he's one of our youngsters. We love to see that. He's come a long way, and really hope he has a successful season next year. And I'm sure he'll be crucial. He really will.
I'm sure he'll be crucial as well. And Dan, I think that's all for the contract news this week, if I'm correct.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, we haven't got Selena yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, here we go. He's been waiting all week. I have to say, he's been waiting all week. He thought Wes Spurs had teased him. There's actually Wes Spurs teasing himself. So,
yeah.
No, didn't happen, unfortunately. But maybe next week, Dan. Maybe next week.
Fingers crossed.
Selena will be signing that contract, and if he is, we'll let you know on the latest news of Selena when we find out about it. It'll be on Pitch Talk as soon as possible. And that is all for your Ipswich Town news this week. And when we come back, we're going to do something a little bit different here. We're going to do a massive football roundup where we talk about the FA Cup final, the Premier League, the Europa League final, because that happened as well, the Championship playoffs, and anything else that pops up. So don't go anywhere.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action with your host, as always, George, joined by my co-host as well, Dan, for another week of football action here on Pitchside Talk. And now, before we do a massive football roundup. I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitch, YouTube, Mixcolour, both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to our pre shows, or if you missed this one today, don't worry, 6 p.m. on Friday after the show is all done and dusted. It'll be up on YouTube, Mixcolour for you to listen back to. If you missed anything from us talking about It's a Town Sweet, do not worry. It'll all be up there on YouTube and Mixcloud. And now we're going to do a massive football roundup because, Dan, we've had so much football this week. We've had the FA Cup final. We've had the penultimate week, in the Premier League. We've had the Europa League final. We've had the playoff semi-finals as well. We've got so much to cram in here. I feel like we should just crack on with this and see how far we get, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. And let's start off with the Premier League and the FA Cup. And the sun was out on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Perfect conditions for a cup final, I say. And that was for the 150th FA Cup final between Chelsea and Liverpool, as the Blues searched for were in their third FA Cup final in 3 years. But the last two hadn't gone quite to plan, ending up as runners-up. But they had reached their fourth major final in 12 months under Thomas Tuchel as well. So a massive achievement there, but they wanted that glory. But they were playing Liverpool. They were up against them for the second time this season in a major cup final after Liverpool won the Carabao Cup final, which all went all the way back to penalties in February. But Liverpool, they still had ambitions of doing that quadruple this season. But they hadn't won the FA Cup since 2006, and they were in their first FA Cup final since 2012, where they lost to a side called Chelsea on the day, 2-1. I wonder what happened to Chelsea after that season. Not like they won the Champions League or anything after that. But 90 minutes couldn't split them. The extra half an hour couldn't split them, and the game went down to penalties after a goalless, 120 minutes. And we saw Liverpool come out on top to win 6-5 on penalties. Dan, the request for the quadruple still goes on for Liverpool after winning that FA Cup final. It might not have been the most thrilling of cup finals, but we saw that in February with the Carabao Cup final as well between these two sides that cannot be split. I think every game they played this season has either ended in a draw or a goalless draw. Let's be honest here. The games this season. But for Liverpool, another cup success, the first FA Cup since 2006. They still can go for the quadruple. What could stop them?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a lot that could stop them, is there? But yeah, it wasn't the best final I've watched. Not a lot happened. Well, I mean, Liverpool came out of the blocks to start with. In the first 10 minutes, they looked really exciting, and I thought, well, this could be a decent final, but it kind of just drifted away. There was chances for both sides to win it. I thought Chelsea and Liverpool both had a decent amount of chances, but it was a pretty poor game, and there was nothing really to separate them. And it came down to penalties, and that's the cliche in football about penalties, isn't it? It can go either way, and it went Liverpool's way, and I'm sure they'll be delighted on their way to the quadruple. It's definitely still possible. Even if they don't look favourable in the Premier League right now, it's still doable for them. So yeah, let's see how they can do. But I'm sure they'll be delighted with their win. I mean, Jurgen Klopp seemed pretty happy in front of them fans, didn't he?
He seemed very happy. But for Chelsea, another devastating blow for them this season and for Thomas Tuchel. They had chances in the game, Dan. Marcus Alonso hit the post. But it was also denied by Alisson as well. But they are the first side in FA Cup history to lose 3 successive FA Cup finals in a row. A disappointing stat where they won for Chelsea. But despite winning the Super Cup and the Club World Cup this season, it's been a bit of a disappointing front for them really on domestics. They lost the Carabao Cup final in the same manner as they did the FA Cup final. They had a little bit of a turbulent season. A lot of change is going to be happening under Chelsea this season with a lot of players out of contract and leaving. But for them, it's just more cup disappointment on the day.
Yeah, it is real disappointment. Again, I mean, that stat about Chelsea is crazy to think. The past 3 finals, it's crazy to think that they go through that. But yeah, I mean, really disappointing and heartbreaking for them to lose on penalties again for the second time this season. Yeah, I think overall it's been, not really a season that they expected. I thought at the start of the year they might be able to challenge, but the Premier League drifted away for them. Maybe they could have got domestic silverware, but they fall short both times. So really disappointing for them. But there's still a lot of hope. I think it's going to be really interesting. The future of the club is with new owners and everything. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. So let's see what they can do next year. I'm sure there'll be some business in the summer, and let's see if they can challenge next year for a piece of silverware.
Yep, let's see if they can change their fortunes next season. And then the FA Cup was all done. And the next day was the Premier League, and Manchester City were in the Premier League, and they had the chance to extend their gap to 6 points at the top of the table and to basically put one hand on that Premier League trophy and put the scenario in. If Liverpool lost or draw to Southampton on Tuesday night, the Premier League would be theirs. But for Man City, they suffered a setback. They had to come back from 2 goals down for the first time under Pep Guardiola to earn a point at West Ham, meaning now they need a victory against Aston Villa on the final day of the season to see them crowned champions of England for the second time in a row this season. And under, I think, would it be 5? Would it be 5 under Pep he's won at the Premier Leagues? No, sorry. No, it'd be 4. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think it is 4.
4. No, it's 4 because he won 2 sorry, I remember now. He's won 2 back-to-backs, had the gap, and they're on the course to win back-to-back Premier League trophies again. But Man City's grip on the title looked very shaky in the first half, as Jarrod Bowen's 2 perfect strikes put West Ham into the lead and send Man City into a bit of a distant whatever. But at half time, it all changed after that as Jack Grealish put the visitors in front. We've got the visitors back up and running again after 4 minutes, and then Riyad Mahrez's free kick was put into the West Ham goal by Kufal, an own goal. But 5 minutes before the end, Jesus was fouled by Craig Dawson, and Riyad Mahrez had the chance to put Man City into the lead and increase their points gap to 6. But Lucas Fabianski saved the penalty, only increasing their points gap to 4. But Dan, Man City, they looked absolutely shaky in the second half, but in the first half. But in the second half, they looked to the Man City we know. But this is really weird here because we've never seen a Man City like this. And I never knew this stat that if they've been down 2 goals in the game, they've never come back to even get a point or even 3. So that's a very interesting stat. But for City, a golden opportunity to put one hand on that Premier League trophy, and it's gone again.
Yeah, it's so unlike City, isn't it? It just seemed like there was a bit of nerves at how important the game was and, what the stakes were, especially in the first half. It was just a really disjointed performance. They did well to get it back to get a point in the end, which is better than nothing. They'll be in a bit of a more precarious situation if they didn't get at least a point in that game, because I think Liverpool would be on the same points as them going into the final day. But it's not really what you want to see from Man City side, which is so close to being Premier League champions. I think that'd make me nervous. But yeah, they did. The second half, they looked like they normally do. I guess the Pep team talk made the difference, but it's not what they want, is it? A draw at this point in the season at this important time. They won all 3 and they just didn't get that, unfortunately, which, as I say, I think that'd leave me a bit nervous if I was a Man City fan.
Yes, a little bit nervous because on Tuesday night, Liverpool were away to Southampton and had the chance to reduce the gap to 1 point at the top of the table. But they knew if they lost that game, the title would have been all over and Man City would be crowned Premier League champions. And there was a little bit of a scare in the first half as they went 1-0 down to Southampton thanks to Nathan Redmond's goal. But Liverpool struck back and got 2 goals thanks to Minamino and Matip on the night to now set up the final day showdown as Liverpool now 1 point off of Manchester City, coming from behind to get that win. Dan, we now got this title day, a title race showdown day, all set up. Liverpool, Man City only split by 1 point and 6 a goal difference. But this is just these 2 sides here. They just don't give in. I don't think they know the word of give in, do they? If we can be perfectly honest. But this is now coming down to a thrilling end from a season which we thought back in December. I know it sounds bad. We thought it was all over by Man City in their 12-point lead. But whatever happens on the final day here, it's going to be special, whatever side you're on.
I mean, we hope so, don't we? I mean, there's a lot of flashbacks to a certain season. There's a lot of deja vu here. I think it was similar points as well, wasn't it, between City and United?
It was
yeah.
Points.
Yeah.
86, both on 86, I think it was.
Yeah, so it was
season.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting. But Liverpool went into that game against Southampton. They needed a win. As you say, a bit of a scare to start with. I thought when Redmond put that goal in, I thought, really, is this how Liverpool are going to end the season? But they managed to get that 2-1 win, crucial for them to take it to the final day, and it's going to be fascinating. I mean, you look at the games and you say they're both favourites for them, but I don't think as a neutral, I want to see just a Man City win and a Liverpool win. I want to see twists and turns on the final day, and I'm really hoping for that. It's going to be very exciting.
Yes, it's going to be very exciting. So I'll quickly just explain the parameters. So Man City and Liverpool on 89 points, Man City on 90 points. Man City have to get a win to guarantee the Premier League trophy. They can get a draw against Aston Villa, but they would need Liverpool to be losing to a Wolves or even to be drawing to Wolves on the day. But for Man City, if they get a win, they will secure the Premier title. Liverpool, they have to win against Wolves to even just keep the title, keep them in the title race, because Man City, if they drop points, Liverpool will be crowned champions this season. And that is all for your Premier League roundup. And Dan, do you fancy taking a little trip overseas to Spain, Seville, very specifically?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it, because 150 odd fans who didn't have tickets made the travel over to Seville. Not really too sure why. I don't think there was much really going on the Wednesday night, but it was the Europa League final between Frankfurt and Rangers. And I must quickly explain that, because Frankfurt fans, 50,000 travelled over to Seville, didn't even have tickets. But for Rangers, 100,000 fans travelled over and didn't even have tickets. That is just commitment to another level. But it was Frankfurt versus Rangers in the Europa League final this season. Frankfurt, they were chasing their first Europa League since 1980. And for Rangers, I'm not really too sure. Dan, do you think Rangers have won the Europa League? I think they have, haven't they?
Oh, goodness. I mean, not recently, that's for sure. I'm not sure if they won it in the past. I'm sure they have. I mean, it is Rangers we're talking about. I don't want to disrespect Rangers.
No, we're not going to disrespect Rangers. We're going to just quickly find out, because if not, it'll look a little bit awkward if we didn't know. It's not like we're doing a football show here, which we don't know what Rangers have done. Oh, I'm not too sure. Here we go. Have they? Oh, no, they haven't. No, they haven't. Okay. They haven't not. Oh, God. Oh, I should have known that. But yeah, Rangers, they haven't won the Europa League before, but they play against Frankfurt. And unlike the FA Cup final, we saw goals in this. We saw 2 goals. Rangers, they led for 12 minutes thanks to Joe Aribo's goal, sending Glasgow into limbs before Frankfurt equalised to make it 1-1. And that was the final score after 90. And an extra time came about and nothing could split the side. So we had to go down to the dreaded penalties, which unfortunately saw Frankfurt win 5-4 on the night, their first Europa League trophy since 1980, denying Rangers their first Europa League trophy in their career, making them a runners-up once again. Dan, a bit more of an interesting final this time, but we saw a final where it ebbed and flowed. No side really took control of this final, but what a final it was, just the atmosphere and everything. But it's a bit better in the FA Cup, but ultimately, massive heartbreak for Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst way to lose a final, isn't it? But yeah, it was a bit more exciting than the FA Cup final, that's for sure. Very even game, I thought. I thought Frankfurt and Rangers really put up a fight against each other. a really good game to watch. And of course, it had to go to penalties. I think Rangers can be really proud of what they've done. I think they've gone on a fantastic run to get to the final, a run that I don't think anyone really expected them to pull off. So, congrats to them for getting to the final. But obviously, Frankfurt winning it on penalties, a cruel way, I think, for Rangers, but I'm sure Frankfurt don't mind. And congrats to them for winning the competition first time since 1980. So, massive achievement for them this year. But I think for Rangers, they've got another cup final coming up soon. So they'll be wanting to focus on that now, and they'll have to bounce back from this, disappointment.
Yes, they will have to bounce back. And Dan, I don't know if you know a little birdie stat here, but when Frankfurt won the Europa League back in 1980, do you know the side that won it the year after them?
Yes, I do. Oh, I mean, what a time to be alive that would have been. I mean, it's great to see the list of winners, and you see, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and all their massive teams, and you just see little old Ipswich in the middle of all that. What I've taken to be alive to see that has been fantastic.
Yeah. I think Ipswich Town should automatically be put into the Europa League for next season, because I think that's how it works, isn't it? Traditions.
It is.
Traditions, yeah.
It is.
I think that's how it should work.
Yeah.
See, at least somebody agrees with me. I'm not going mad. There's a little space because Frankfurt left it because they can't defend the trophy. So.
Yeah. I mean, we won Family Club of the Year. Does that not get us qualification? I think it should.
I think it should. Or maybe if we had a top 10 finish, then we might have got a serious campaign.
Okay, yeah.
That's what they'll put it down to. That's a high achievement, but didn't get a top 10 finish, did we? Only if we got 3 points against Portsmouth, would have been all fine, wouldn't it?
Dear, don't remind me.
Cambridge. All the other teams we played. But we better get back onto something here because we're going off on a massive run here. And we've got finally, the Championship playoff semi-finals. Yes, we've got those 4 teams battling out for that one place in the richest game in world football, the Premier League. And we had Huddersfield versus Luton Town, the first semi-final, and the second one was Nottingham Forest versus Sheffield United. And firstly, starting off with Huddersfield versus Luton Town. On the night, it was 1-1 on aggregate after the thrilling first leg at the Luton Town Stadium. But Jordan Rose, the former Ipswich Town striker and Norwich striker.
Ooh.
I was just waiting for that. I was waiting for that cue there. That's why I said that. Those 2 words there. Scored the winner, sending Huddersfield into the Championship playoff final on 2-1 aggregate lead over Luton Town for the Terriers. But for the second one, it was Nottingham Forest versus Sheffield United. And this one, I have to say, had a bit more action involved in this one. After the first leg, it finished 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. But on the night, it finished 2-1 to Sheffield United, making it 3-3 on aggregate. So it meant they had to go down to extra time, which, they didn't score in extra time. But then it had to go down to penalties. And it was a very interesting penalty shootout, I think we have to say. And Nottingham Forest won 3-2 on penalties, putting them only 1 game now away from returning to the Premier League after a 23-year absence from the top flight of football. Dan, some brilliant playoff finals, but the main question really here, who's going to win the richest game of football and get back to the Premier League? Would it be Huddersfield, a side who dropped out of the Premier League only a few seasons ago, been a lot in the playoffs this season, been the main sort of stayer in the playoffs, been sort of just sort of going under the radar, but they had a bit of a tough start back into the Championship, sort of being down the bottom half of the table, not where they wanted to be, but they're back where they think they should be. But they're playing a Nottingham Forest side here who had an awful start to the season. They were in the relegation zone before Steve Coo took over, and what a turnaround he has done. He's got this side firing back into the playoffs, and now they're only 1 game away from being back in the Premier League after their 23-year hiatus. But the main question is, who's going to win at Wembley and who's going to be in the Premier League for next season?
Oh, yeah, another prediction I've got to make. I mean, it's going to be a really interesting final. I mean, as you say, Forest had such a poor start to the season, and what a turnaround they've had under Steve Cooper. Obviously, a fantastic manager. But for Huddersfield, they've been really, really good this season. They've looked exciting, and as you say, been kind of the mainstay in the playoffs. And I think the playoffs in general has been really interesting because Luton, Sheffield United, and Forest, they didn't have very good starts to the season, and they kind of pushed back during the season and managed to make the playoffs. So it's really interesting playoff semi-finals. But I mean, you look at the final and you look on social media and people have written off Huddersfield already, it seems, which I don't think is right to do because they've got every chance as Forest. But I'm going to go back on what I just said and say that Forest are going to go up. I think it's going to be a close game. And I can see it going to penalties just like all the other games recently seem to have been. I can really see it going to penalties, but I think it'll be a narrow win for Nottingham Forest, and it'll be their time to be back in the Premier League after a long time out. I think it'll be good to see Forest back in the Premier League, don't you?
Yeah, well, I say may the best team win because I've got to keep a little bit of a neutral side, but for the side of having something new in the Premier League, come on, Nottingham Forest. Because I like new in the Premier League. It's nice to have new sides in there. It's nice to have a bit of variation in there. Not the same old sides that go up and down, up and down. I was speaking about you. I was going to say Fulham more
Fulham, yeah. They just swap round, don't they? Them two.
Yeah, they do. They like to take turns, really. I tell you, the one time they're both in the Premier League at the same time, minds would be blown. That's all I'm going to say, because nobody will be able to comprehend what has just happened.
Yeah,
Fulham and Norwich in the same Premier League season, impossible. And unfortunately, that is all the time we've got for today's show. We've ran out of time. The referee's blows whistle for full time. But Dan, I want to thank you very much for joining me this week. When I see you next week, we'll be doing we'll be talking about more stuff in the football because we've got the last weekend, the Premier League. We'll be talking about that, who's won the title, who's got top four, who's being relegated. Will you be joining me for that?
Yes, of course. And I'll tell you what, we better be talking about Selena next week.
Yep. We hope, we touch wood and walls and plastic that Selena will be a Luton Town player next week. But we'll have to find out. But thank you very much for listening to the show this week. Remember, Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud, both at Pitchside Talk. And if you missed from anything today's show, do not worry. You'll be up in a few minutes on YouTube and Mixcloud. So I've been George as always. I've been joined by Dan. We'll see you next week and ciao.
Yeah.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.